Hey, what's going on? This video is not brought to you by Break Free because they're not a sponsor. But if they wanted to be a sponsor, that'd be really cool. Anyway, head on over to breakfree.com or, your favorite vendor and pick yourself up a Break Free. I've been using them since before they were cool because I commute at night and you need all the help you can get at night to not be run over. So yeah, check them out and tell them I sent you so they'll offer, maybe to sponsor a video. I don't know. Good morning. We are commuting to work on the Ibex reindeer. Yeah, kind of corny, huh? So what's happening this December morning? It's kind of chilly. It's cooler than it's supposed to be, I believe. It's supposed to be 55, but it feels more like 45. For this ride on the Ibex, we put the short seat back on, the stock North American seat, which is the shorter one. I'm trying to determine if the tall enduro / touring seat is actually better. I'm not sure it is. It could be, but it's too soft. And those of you that spend hours on a seat know that soft foam is not good. It starts to wad up and go places the seat shouldn't go. It's supposed to be 55 degrees. I'm not buying it. The sun is coming up, not a cloud in the sky. And we're on our way to work. So during the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, I didn't really buy anything until I noticed Mosko Moto had a Cyber Monday sale, and I had hopes and dreams of 30% off, but it was only 15 on the particular item that I wanted, which was the Backcountry Panniers for my BMW. And I ordered the whole shebang, Backcountry Panniers with 4 aux box. And yeah, I did a little video in the garage. We'll show it here. These things are absolutely bomb-proof, man, I'm telling you. The aux box are kind of, actually, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say they're kind of a pain in the butt to put on, but they're not. The first one is, right? And after the third one, you're a pro. The fourth one went on in about a quarter of the time the first one did. So yeah, not too bad, the assembly portion. My GV Trekker aluminum box racks on the back of the GS, I just needed to remove the GV latch that was on there. I took that off and put it inside those bags for future use. And then the 4 aluminum clamps fit right on the GV Trekker rack on my GS. I bought 2 35-liter bags, so she's a little lopsided, wonky out the right side. But honestly, I don't think it sticks out any more than the aluminum bag that I would normally put on that side. And you can cinch them up, you can collapse them, which is, a good thing on those bags. When there's nothing in them, I can collapse them, and lane splitting is less of an issue. But yeah, the build quality on those things, I used to think the Reckless 80 was awesome. Man, these things, they're pretty amazing. They both have beaver tails, and if you know anything about the Reckless 80 and 40 system with the beaver tail, it's probably the most useful feature on the darn things. So now we've got a beaver tail on each side, which is really cool. I went with 4 aux box because I wanted to put my toolkits broken into 2 bags, and as far as individual pieces, it's probably the heaviest stuff that I take on trips, right? So now I can put 1 on each side in the forward aux box, because weight forward and low is where I want it. And then the back one I can I have an MSR water bladder for one of the back aux box, and then the other side, whatever you feel like, I guess, fuel, I don't know. But so yeah, those are mounted up and ready for duty, and there seems to be plenty of room. I need to pack my camping gear in there and see exactly how they pack out, right? Because I mean, I think they're 35 liters each, but everybody knows that every single bag, whether it be a hard bag or a soft bag or whatever, is overrated from the factory. Will it hold 35 liters of stuff? I don't know. So a couple of the reasons I bought those, well, the number one reason, because they look freaking cool. I mean, look at them. But safety off-road, right? This last ride we were on, yeah, you know, I dumped my bike more than once. But the first time was under a railroad trestle. We were trying to get around a stalled train. And so we ran down the railroad tracks until we found an underpass, a dirt underpass, and we took it. But unfortunately the sand was, I don't know, foot deep. Almost made it through, but almost didn't count. Tipped over, no big deal, slow speed. But the bike fell on my ankle, and I was a little bit pinned. I managed to get out of it, but and it was because of the hard bags. I'm pretty sure. If it had been a soft bag, I don't think it would have pinned me. I mean, you won't really know that until it happens, but more than being pinned, there was a lot of weight on my ankle, and if I didn't turn my body a certain way, you know, when we went down, I'm pretty sure something would have broke. So yeah, soft bags it is when we're doing more off-road than on-road. Another reason I wanted to look into getting those bags is I was hoping to save some weight, but that was a fail. I think all up weight, you know, if you compare the aluminum boxes versus the Backcountry bags, the Backcountry bags are 2 pounds heavier, which I was surprised to see that. Really surprised. But the weight is further forward and lower, so that's a good thing. And number 4, probably just the build quality and the Mosko Moto warranty that includes crashing. Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe this the stock seat on this is better. That's kind of sketchy. Of course, we won't really know that until the ride home, because I spend about 1 hour and 20 minutes each way, and coming home about an hour into that trip is where I really start to get a good idea of how the seat would feel after spending 4 or 5 hours in the seat, on the seat. In this case, in the seat. The stock seat you sit more in than on. But yeah, the stock seat might be getting a nod here. I don't know. We'll know tonight, right? I'll keep you posted, let you know. We are approaching 400 miles on the CFMoto Reindeer. Hey, look, we're right at 400 miles. Would you look at that? Overall average 70 miles per gallon. Not bad, not bad. The Ibex continues to impress. It's a lighter bike that feels like a big bike in a good way, right? Bigger bikes are more comfortable at highway speeds and in wind and wind protection, but yet it's what, 420-ish pounds, something like that, with gas in it. I don't know, the weight published for this thing are all over the place. Ready to go with fuel. When they first published weight, they were publishing dry weight, and then people actually weighed them, but they weighed them with the crash guards and everything already on them, and they come up with 400 and I want to say 30 something pounds. And I'm not gonna lie, these SW Motec crash guards are probably 10 pounds, if not more. So weighing it decked out probably wasn't fair, you know, and saying that the published wet weight is off. It probably isn't off. It's the fact that it had 20 more pounds of gear on the thing. Either way, it carries its weight really, really well. It feels no heavier than a Versus 300. And so I think empty weight is like 385. So that makes sense, because a Versus, I believe, is about 386 pounds fueled. but it honestly feels like it has twice the power the Versus has. I think it's that 270 crank making that torque feel available like immediately, and I don't know, it's good. Some of us you know, really get into the character of a motorcycle, and this thing, it is, I don't know, you gel with that crank, that power delivery that V-twin-ish engine produces, right? Yeah, I know it's a parallel twin, but with a 270 crank, it thinks it's a V-twin. It has the same firing position, piston position as a V-twin would have inside that parallel block. It's got half of the a crank similar to, like, would be half of the R1 crank, right? And that's why it sounds so incredibly good. But yeah, back to the Mosko Moto bags. They are incredible, bomb-proof, and obviously waterproof. The shell is very, very thick material, expertly sewn together and crafted with a very thick waterproof bag that goes in each side, each pannier. I don't know how any of your gear would get wet in that. I really don't. But yeah, they are certainly expensive. Like I said, I think it was a 15% off on Cyber Monday, which paid for taxes plus some. But yeah, that's the buy once, cry once thing, I guess. Oh, instead of wearing sunglasses, she's putting on her makeup. Yay. Can I talk about how freaking awesome this bike is? Holy crap. You know, Dork on the Road did I think a top 25 or 20 of his favorite bikes. I think I should do the same thing. And I think we're gonna have similar results, except there'll be a battle between my GS 1250 GS and this for #1, or even my ST 1300 Pan American. I mean, those are all three amazing bikes. The ST 1300 would probably lose a few points because no off-road capability, although I took it down gravel roads quite frequently. But man, this is a good bike. That's how hard it's hitting, right? It's up there with the GS and a Honda ST 1300 as far as just a nice bike to ride on the street, to work, to wherever. It's great. I mean, holy crap. All it's got to do is keep running. That's the only unknown, right? And the MT's been out for a while, so there's been people flogging and beating the crap out of these. I don't know if there's any, you know, reported failures. But yeah, this bike it's good. If you're thinking about buying a Himalayan or a Versus 300, I mean, definitely go ride this bike. And I know there's that whole made in China thing, and I understand that. But I also think it's funny that people will give you crap for buying maybe a Chinese bike, or give you crap for buying a German bike, you know, depending on how far back they want to go with their critical thoughts on countries and their past or their present. But they will gobble up and consume Japanese products, and this is not anything, in my opinion, bad about, you know, Japan or Japanese product, but they will gobble up Japanese products like there's no tomorrow, and that is the only country in the history of our country that's ever actually attacked us. But they'll give you crap for buying a German bike, you know, or buying a Chinese bike. I don't know. That's something, that's a you problem, right? You've got to work over that and get over that, or not get over it. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But so yeah, there's that Chinese thing that there's people that are never going to buy a Chinese product. Yet they order 90% of everything they own off of Amazon, which probably comes from China. And I understand, like I said, you know, we're giving money to the Chinese and the Chinese government, and they're building a pretty amazing military. China doesn't build junk anymore. And that's scary. Because eventually they're going to build good airplanes that are as good or better than ours. But is China ever really going to invade America? Why would they? That's a discussion for another video that I'll never have because I hate politics. But yeah, back to this bike being amazing. It is amazing. It's got a 2 solid thumbs up from me and many other people. If this bike isn't number 1 of all the bikes I've ever owned, it's definitely number 2. All right, we are home. It is the evening. We spent a few hours on the CFMoto reindeer. Anyway, I gotta take those off tonight. Kind of silly. But the purpose of coming back to talk to you after my commute home tonight was to discuss the OEM seat versus the factory optional enduro / touring seat. Which one's more comfortable? Let's go with a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being amazing, 10 being I'm never riding this bike ever again. I'm gonna give this guy a 2. That guy right there, see over there, yeah, there he is, right there, a 3. Reason for that is the foam on that touring / enduro seat is just way too soft. If they built that seat with this foam, it'd be a home run. That seat would be awesome. With the foam being too soft, it kind of wads up after a while, and you know, soft seats just aren't good. Those of you that ride long distances know what I'm talking about. No bueno, no. Anyway, yeah, a couple things that guy does for you though. It does increase the distance from your butt to the pegs, right? So if you're a taller person, you might enjoy that. Then again, if you're taller and heavier, you might just sink down in the seat anyway, so I don't know that it'll make any difference. On the negative side, I noticed it sits me up higher in the airstream out of the protective little bubble that the fairing and the windshield make. So I had more wind on the top of my helmet and my shoulders, even with this giant WRS touring screen on here. And of course, it makes it a further reach to the ground if you're a shorter person or you have a short inseam. I'm right at 32 inches. I don't have a problem reaching the ground on that seat or that seat because the Ibex has a pretty low seat height. But yeah, I find the stock seat, even though it's a little bit low, it is firm, but I like that to be more comfortable than the enduro seat. I mean, one could argue you can slide back and forth on that seat, but it's just too soft. Like I said, if that seat over there was built with the foam from this seat over here, hands down, an amazing seat over there, right? That would be the winner for sure, but it's not. And I'm not the first person that's come to this conclusion, but stock seat's better, in my opinion. At least my butt thinks so. Anyway, you guys have a good one, and I will talk to you later.